SportsRadioDetroit.com.
Let's go out and leave it all on the field. It's going to start with us. We got to make plays in order for us to win. All you got to do is do your assignment, nothing more. Let's go. Playmakers on 3. 1, 2, 3. Playmakers.
Matthew leans in. He's got it. Wants to throw. Pressure comes up the screen. Got it to Riddick. Riddick to 15. Riddick 10. Riddick 5. Riddick end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. He's to Abdullah right side. Got a hole. Abdullah 20. Abdullah 10. Shakes the man at the 8 and dances into the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. The action fake. He's going to throw. Rhodes does. It is picked up by Lions. Coming back the other way off the deflection. Glover Quin. Back to the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, baby, a big takeaway for 6. 38 seconds left. Bradford's got it on third down. Sets and throws. It is intercepted. Darius Slay's got it at the 30. Slay inside the 25. Matthews got it. Looks right. Throws. Caught. Golden Tate. End zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Barkley takes the snap. Back to pass. Looks. Rolling. Hit. Still alive. Now he's not. Going down. Sack. Back outside the 50-yard line. Kerry Hyder's got it. Backing up. Looking for somewhere to go. Stafford's going to tuck it and run. Stafford at the 5. 3, 2, 1. End zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, Matthew took it home.
Lions, SRD on SportsRadioDetroit.com.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Lions SRD on SportsRadioDetroit.com. I'm Ben Sloggy, joined with, of course, Marty Stafford. Marty, we are we're in the thick of it. Training camp begins. How excited are you, bud?
I'm real excited. It's that time of year where tunnel vision comes into me. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big baseball guy. I love baseball. Hockey's in the rearview mirror. I don't really care about basketball, but now it's all tunnel vision on football, baby. It's time to put the pads on and see what these guys have to offer.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing. This last Thursday was the last Thursday until December that won't have football of any kind. How weird! Like to me, it's just the summer has just flown by. I'm like you. I'm a baseball guy. Obviously, being in Detroit, Tigers have a good history, and even though they're kind of tanking now, but it's something that now people can pivot that attention. Even Michigan will be starting their camp as well on Monday. Michigan State, I think the same thing. I think Penn State has already reported and started practicing. So teams all across the Big Ten are getting into it too. This is definitely the time of year if you're a football fan.
Oh yeah, it's so exciting because I was born and raised a Penn State fan. I've been a Lions fan since I was a little kid. So yeah, it's time to hit the ground running. I'm excited.
Well, we talked about the last episode, Derek Carr and the Dominoes. If you're a Eric Clapton fan like I am, I hope to God anyone appreciated that title. But we talked about the cascade of contracts after Derek Carr in Oakland signed his deal to become the highest paid quarterback in the league. We went through options. We were thinking about a game of musical chairs that were going to take place, not just around the league, not like, just without Matthew Stafford, Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins, who ended up just taking another franchise tag deal with the Redskins. We wanted to see how the musical chairs game would affect the Lions, and also internally because Ansah, Stafford, Glover Quin, all were up for contract extensions. And we're going to start Lions SRD with probably breaking news for you, even though you're going to be listening to it a day late. One of those dominoes has fallen, but it's not who you think it is. Matthew Stafford is still not signed or committed anything to paper yet with the Detroit Lions about a contract extension. Instead, it was Glover Quin, 31-year-old Glover Quin, on Sunday signed a contract extension through 2019. So if you quickly look at his contract, now the details were not disclosed. We'll probably get further details as the week goes on as to how much money he's going to be getting. As of right now, he's making $4 million in base salary, basically $1 million in a signing bonus and in a roster bonus. So the thing is, he's going to be here through 2018, 2019. Initially, Marty, when I looked at it, obviously it's a team-friendly signing. He's 31 years old. He's a guy that we've talked about as basically a marathon player. He's the only guy last year on the Lions team that played every single snap on defense. There was no replacement for him. He was the Iron Man of that defense. How big of a signing is this to you, and just what's your reaction to it?
Well, if you remember last time we recorded, I said other than Stafford, this was the most important one to get done.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect to Ansah. I understand what Quinn contributes on that defense. Like you said, there's no replacement for Glover Quin. There's none. We have Alex Carter, we have Killebrew, and Don Carey, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So this deal had to get done. Now they have a little bit of a window. Hopefully Killebrew can grow or Carter can grow, where those guys can, one of the young guys can hopefully grow into a good, solid starter for when Quinn retires. Because Ben, like you had said, it's going to take him to his age 33 or age 34 season, and that's probably when he'll be done, I would imagine, because safeties don't play for very long, much longer than that. So yeah. I would think that'll probably finish out his career, which is great because, like I said, this was the contract other than Stafford that I felt needed to get done the most, and I'm really happy about it. As soon as I saw it, I tagged you, and I was just amped because it's something that needed to happen, and he's a leader in that defense. And my own personal opinion, if I'm picking captains, I'm putting Prater, Stafford, and Quinn as my captains every week, unless they're going to rotate it like they did last year.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting to me because he spent, obviously, the first 4 years in Houston. This is now going to be his, I think, fourth or fifth year with the Lions. So when he wraps up this deal, he would be in the league for 11 to 12 years. And it's something that, yeah, I mean, you and I, we talked about it on the last episode, and we both basically had a clear vision with this, right? I mean, it as you said, it had to be team-friendly. If you were going to extend him, it was only going to be, for a couple of years at most. And sure enough, that's what Bob Quinn does. And this is why, again, I know I harp on this and basically every podcast. And I know people are probably sick and tired of hearing me just praise Bob Quinn. But he's just making smart contracts. I mean, he really is. You look at it with Theo Riddick, Darius Slay, now Glover Quin, it just makes you wonder what else he can do. And granted, Matthew Stafford still hasn't committed anything, but both sides are close to a deal. And you still have Ziggy Ansah, who we'll get into a little bit because he's starting training camp on the PUP list. But they say that that's precautionary, but again, with his age, is he truly 28? Is he really 30? Is he 29? All of those things kind of come into play, and it'll be interesting to see what they do there with Ansah, only because they don't have a true threat outside of him. Granted, yes, Kerry Hyder last year stepped up big time and filled the void when Ansah was injured. Granted, Ansah hasn't really played a full season in 2 years. But it's something that, again, it's very, very interesting, and I just want to get your opinion on it because I liked Glover Quin when he first was playing in Houston. He was a guy that, covered the field pretty well. He has some coverage issues, but he's a good leader on defense, and he's a guy that you can definitely keep around, as you said, Marty, help a guy like Alex Carter that's transitioning from corner to safety and, help him get his feet wet and hopefully maybe even stay on this team because that's a major toss-up. But we're not going to quickly just talk about Matthew Stafford yet. We're going to just hold on to that because he did talk with the media on Saturday when everyone was coming into the facility. Training camp practices start on Monday. But what we got with some news, and it was interesting news. Like I said, Ziggy Ansah was added to the PUP list. Greg Robinson on Saturday was added to the NFI list. And Kuhn, Gio, and Tabor were activated, and I know a lot of people were concerned about that. But here's some good news. It was after about fewer than 24 hours after all that happened on Sunday. Greg Robinson, Cornelius Washington were activated by the Detroit Lions, so they can practice, and that's basically major news. Because looking at this season, you look at a lot of predictions, and you can tell everyone's looking at that Taylor Decker news. And if you're curious, Taylor Decker now doesn't have a shoulder sling anymore, so he's showing positive signs that he's on the mend. But everyone's looking at that injury like the death blow to the entire Lions season. Everyone's predicting 5-11. We've talked about it on here. The first 8 games, 9 games are going to be tough for the Lions. But having these guys back into camp, it's only going to help. It's going to help tremendously. And one name that I was kind of expecting to be on the PUP list that wasn't on the PUP list, who had off-season hip surgery. I'm giving enough hints. Marty, do you know who I'm talking about?
I do not.
TJ Lang.
Oh, there you go.
There it is. Newest Lion, TJ Lang, not on the PUP list. He's not on an NFL or NFI list or anything like that. He's healthy. He's going to practice. Yes, he missed, the first part of organized team activities in the offseason, but he's healthy. So you have Cornelius Washington, you have Greg Robinson, you have TJ Lang. You're going to have these guys get that chemistry going. Granted, TJ Lang's still probably going to be eased into it. They don't want to obviously rush anything with his hip or anything like that. But looking at the season, what is like your outlook on the season? Where do you think the Lions can go? What do you think their strengths and weaknesses are going to be as well?
Regardless of the offensive line upgrades, I still think a weakness is going to be the running game. I've talked about this every week ad nauseum. I don't have full faith in Theo Riddick, in Zenner, in Abdullah. It's not that I doubt they can be good. It's just they haven't proven to me that they can yet. We all know that Riddick's a one-trick pony. All he can really do is receive out of the backfield. Zenner's okay, but he's more suited for short yardage and goal line carries rather than being a feature back. Now, I know he kind of excelled in that role a little bit last year, but is that what he's capable of, or was that like a fluke kind of thing? We don't know. And Abdullah, he's been too brittle his first 2-3 years in the league, however long he's been in.
Right.
He hasn't played the season. So to me, it's still a weakness for us, in my opinion, for the Lions. They just got to prove it, and I'm still somewhat concerned about the secondary. I mean, I know Quinn getting locked up, that's a good thing. I'm curious to see how the secondary is going to play. Like they played, in my opinion, other than Slay, they pretty much played above their heads last year. I want to see if that's their level of play, that they can still play well, or if that was a fluke too. So I'm kind of curious to see that. But I think our linebacking core is better. I think our defensive line, even with Ansah being hurt, I think our defensive line is good. I like the fact they can rotate so many guys in and out. I think running game and pass defense is to me that's the weaknesses. We'll see how that goes.
I know you don't like doing it, but what is a record prediction you think that the Lions could have? I know you don't like doing it, but it's always kind of fun to throw out there.
I don't like doing it when nothing started, but since you asked, I'm gonna say I'll look at it and I'll say 9-7. I think we can do it. Now I don't know if that translates into division. I don't know if that translates into postseason, but I think 9-7 is definitely possible.
Okay, yeah, and that's fair, and something that I'm looking at too when I hear all this news. Granted, yes, it's encouraging, but I'm not over the moon on it. We know what Greg Robinson has already been labeled as. It's been labeled as a bust. He hasn't been a good left tackle, and whether they want to keep him, move him inside, and have someone else at left tackle until Decker comes back, if he comes back, it's still going to impact the passing game and the running game. And I think unless the Lions take a major step forward in the running game, get better on defense, get better on consistent offense, this team is going to be, I think, no better than 7-9. I would even say 6-10, unless, like I said, everyone starts, getting a crap ton better. It's something that I just look at it. You hear all of these same storylines. Oh, Amir Abdullah looks great. Well, yeah, that's in shorts and helmets. What is he going to be when the pads are on? Will he stay healthy? And can you actually build a running game off of him? We've seen how explosive the guy can be. And obviously with TJ Lang and the entire right side of the line basically getting a massive upgrade, that's going to help a lot of things with Lang and Wagner there on the right side. The right side of the line, finally for the Lions, probably not a liability for the first time, and I want to say close to 5 years, if not longer. But, yeah, I agree with you, Marty. Looking into how the Lions do, one thing I want to see how the running game develops. If it develops, there hasn't been really a single guy who has broken out and gotten 100 yards consistently a game. And part of that, yes, the NFL is more of a passing league than running league, but you still need a running game to complement everything. So that's what I'm kind of looking into. I agree with you. The linebacking core probably has gotten better. If not, it's stayed the same. The defensive line, I think, has stayed the same, which for me, that's to say that that they've either marginally improved or because defensive line has never really been an issue for the Lions, even under like Rod Marinelli and other coaches like Jim Schwartz. The defensive line has been fine. So I think I think that front seven is going to play pretty decently, maybe even better at linebacker since Gerard Davis is really soaking things up. But yeah, for me, the secondary with Lawson played pretty well, but he has to be even more consistent than he was. Darius Slay last year kind of had his breakout season where he finally showed why he was drafted where he was drafted and the type of corner that he could be. Easily one of the top 10 corners in the league. It's stuff like that that's encouraging, but that's why I say right now the ceiling is 7 and 9 at best, because I need to see what that offensive line can do. Now, having said that, looking into training camp, the stories that I'm really curious about, and it's only on offense. It's not defense. It's not position battle with corners, or even who wins the backup quarterback race between Kaya and Rudock. I want to see how this wide receiving core shakes out. Because last year, they, to put it mildly, underwhelmed in every facet. The first 4 games, Marvin Jones looked really good. The last 12, he looked awful. Golden Tate was inconsistent. You didn't have really a good third or fourth option, but Anquan Bolden, who's no longer with the team, played pretty darn well. I want to see also if Eric Ebron can take another step forward like he did, even though it was a very small incremental step last year. I want to see if he can take another step forward. I want to see how all of that combines. I want to see if Galladay, I want to see what he's like, if he's going to be used in the slot as a taller guy. I want to see how Michael Roberts will be. I want to see how Brandon Fell will be blocking as well, which for me, even though it's going to tip my hand a lot, I can totally see Brandon Fell lining up on the left side of the line probably about 75% of the time in the first 6 games of this season to kind of help. I was going to say, go ahead.
You mean as an extra blocker, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there's no way, there's no way schematically that you're not going to have any type of help there, because the Lions already got rid of their fullbacks. Burton's no longer with the team, and the Lions don't even like running a pro set formation. They are a shotgun team. That Fell and Ebron are going to be primarily on the left side of that line. It's just common sense, because if not, you could have Ebron and Fell motion to the left to get the defense flowing there. For the first 6 or 7 games, I totally think that, especially Fell, because he's a blocking tight end, I guarantee he's going to be basically on the left hip of that left tackle. And if not, he's going to be lined up directly behind him just to make sure that Matthew Stafford can stay upright and make sure that he can have a clean pocket for a change. And yes, that's going to tip your hand a little bit. And it's something that you're just going to have to deal with until you know that whoever's playing left tackle, whether it's Robinson, whether it's Washington, whether it's Koulibaly, whoever is playing that position, Dahl even, because now that the Lions have made signings, people have forgotten that Joe Dahl can actually play and actually looked good in OTAs. Whoever fills that role is going to need help until they get comfortable, they're not swimming anymore, and they can maybe hold that side of the line. But yeah, like I said, I only see 7-9 for this team. If they get back in the playoffs, I'll be impressed. And it would mean for me, honestly, even though I don't like saying it, I don't like saying it, it would cause for Jim Caldwell to be retained in his last year. Because a lot of people are waiting to see, what's going to happen with Jim Caldwell. Is he going to be fired? Is he going to be extended? Are they just going to move on after the contract? We've been saying that now, for at least the past couple of years.
They hired him, let's face it. They hired him.
Yeah.
When the whole thing was going on with looking for a new head coach, everybody wanted Gase or Whisenhunt. Those were the two names that everybody wanted. And then we ended up getting Caldwell, and every single Lions fan I saw, and even writers, were like, you basically had to feel that, this was the booby prize. And you know what? I'm not a big Caldwell fan. We all know, and I will go to my grave saying this, I'm a Schwartz guy. I love Jim Schwartz. He brought that swagger back to Detroit. I understand it was time for him to go, but I was a Schwartz guy. I, too, felt like Caldwell was the booby prize, and I'm glad that he is proving me wrong more and more each year. Do I feel like he's the guy that's going to get us a Lombardi? No, not necessarily, but I do feel like he's the guy who could potentially get us there. So he's making me eat my words, and crow tastes fine right now. So
I was going to say, it is the bird of choice, screw chicken. But in all seriousness, though, do you, even if let's say the Lions go 9-7 but miss the playoffs because the Vikings got better in the offseason, the Packers are still the Packers even though their offensive line took a hit, but we've seen how good Aaron Rodgers can be outside of the pocket. Do you even think that it's remotely possible that Jim Caldwell's not back with this team after like an 8-8 campaign, especially with everything that has gone on?
I think, and I'm going to dance around this question a little bit.
That's fine. I want to see you two-step. Let's go.
I think it's going to depend on how that 8-8 comes about. If they start off sluggish and they finish the season strong, yes, he'll be back. If they start off strong and fall off the map, then no, he won't be back. Plus, it also sorry, I didn't mean to yell there. It also depends on how the health of the roster is. Let's face it. If Stafford gets hurt, we're not going anywhere near 9-7 or even 7-9. So, I mean, if Stafford gets hurt and he's missed a significant time, nobody's going to fault Jim Caldwell for Jake Rudock or Brad Kaya having to step in and take significant snaps. I think there's a lot of things that play out, but I think if he makes the postseason, he'll get rewarded with an extension or, finish up the contract, however you worded it. And he might even get extended. It all depends because it seems like Quinn and Martha really, really like him, and that's fine because, like I said, he's making me eat crow. So I'd be okay with him extended. Plus, you don't know what other coaches would be out there to replace him. You just don't know. Not everybody's going to be a Jack Del Rio where he turns the Raiders franchise around as quickly as he has. Not everybody's going to be a who's out in Denver right now? Good Lord, I can't think. John Fox turned that franchise around before he got fired. So, I mean, you're not going to find coaches like that. And I think Caldwell has been a very solid hire. And, I have no problem with him getting extended if that's how it goes.
Well, right. And plus, I mean, hell, if they make the playoffs, that would be 3 out of 4 years. I mean, and that's uncharted territory for the Lions. So I know a lot of people always look at like names like, Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, both, coordinators for the Patriots as, someone that Bob Quinn's going to tab And, Josh McDaniels already has head coaching experience. You mentioned, Denver. He was in Denver, and he learned, on the job, basically, and he's still, tweaking and what have you. So I think a lot of people are naturally looking there. I honestly would be shocked if the Lions changed the head coaching situation, only because with what happened to Taylor Decker and how tough the first 8 games of the season are. Yes. If the Lions go 3-5 in the first 8, or even if they go 500, 4-4, I know this fan base is going to be like, well, that's not good enough. That's terrible. But yeah, but you missed your starting left tackle, who actually was really, really good. So it's it's something that I think he's on. I think he's on this team no matter what. I honestly think he's going to be the head coach unless Bob Quinn surprises us all and just says, "Hey, your contract's up. I liked what you did. I'm just going to go a different direction." And just that, and it's completely plausible. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if that would happen. I'm not even going to say that it's a 50-50 shot. I honestly say at this point it's probably about 65-35 that Caldwell is probably going to stay. Because you're right. The Fords like him. For all intents and purposes, it seems like Bob Quinn likes him. He at least says the right things in every press conference about Caldwell. And he knows that he has to, build this team the way he has. And he started in the trenches, and now he's working his way out, as you can tell, and, in getting better. But, yeah, unless it's a complete dumpster fire like 5-11, like everyone else around the league is predicting for the Lions, then yeah, Jim Caldwell's probably going to stay unless, like I said, Bob Quinn swerves us all and just at the end of the year just says, nope, you're done. But as we said at the beginning of the show, Marty, Matthew Stafford has yet to sign his contract, and this is going to be basically the last topic we're going to hit on unless you have anything else. But Matthew Stafford came in on Saturday. He was one of the players along with Glover Quin, talked to the media. Jim Caldwell talked to the media. And obviously your starting quarterback spoke with the media as well, as you anticipate, because guess what? We still need to know if a contract's going to be signed. And regarding that, if there's a timetable about that, this is what Matthew Stafford had to say.
No timetable. I know that Tom, my agent, and the guys upstairs are continuing talks. That's all I can really tell you. That's why I hire him, so he can deal with that stuff, and I don't have to talk about it except for when you guys ask me questions about it.
Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking. Well, if there's no contract, is that really going to affect his performance? Well, Matthew Stafford doesn't think it will at all.
I come into every season, no matter 5 years on a deal, 1 year on a deal, 3 years on a deal. There's no difference to me, as far as my preparation. I'm just doing everything I can to be mentally, physically ready to go, and that's my job. No matter what happens, I've got a year left on my contract here, so I'm going to be here. This year playing football for this team, so it's on my shoulders to be as good as I possibly can to help our team win.
And one thing, Marty, that was really, really interesting before we play the soundbite, Matthew Stafford did something he's never done in his 9 years in the NFL. He actually worked with a quarterback coach in the offseason. He went out to California to work with quarterback gurus Tom House and Adam Dedeaux. Now, those guys have worked with Tom Brady and Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford are friends. They've talked about, and everyone saw, Matt Ryan actually get a lot better, obviously, as the Falcons went to the Super Bowl last year. What goes through your mind when you hear that Matthew Stafford basically invested in himself this offseason and went to see a quarterback guru, quote unquote, to maybe improve his mechanics, maybe improve his vision? What were your thoughts on that?
I think it's great on two levels. One, because it shows that he's all in. He's taking this very seriously. Clearly, he's in it for the cash. He wants to make the money. Who doesn't? That's why these guys do it. But he's also saying, hey, you know what? I have room to grow. but very on the other side of the fence here. I think it's kind of funny. Remember when they were looking for a head coach and an offensive coordinator? He didn't want a quote unquote quarterback guru sign. He didn't feel he needed all that. So hearing that he went out to find one to work on his mechanics and vision and whatnot, I think it's kind of funny, but I think it's also awesome to a degree that he's just showing that he's doing all the right things a leader needs to do. I do find it kind of humorous though, because he raised his arms in a big stink about that last season. He didn't want a head coach or a quarterback's guru in there with him. He didn't feel he needed it. But it was good. I'm glad to see he's being as forthright as he needs to be, doing what he needs to be doing. I think it's great.
I think it's outstanding. I'm not going to lie. As a guy who doesn't really I respect the toughness Matthew Stafford has, obviously. But right. What he did last year, completing 65% of his passes, he had 24 touchdowns and a career-low 10 interceptions because Jim Bob Cooter has helped him. The fact I think he saw that change under the first full year with Jim Bob Cooter, I think he saw within himself that, you know what, maybe with what we have here in Detroit, maybe we can make a run at things. Maybe not just get into the playoffs, but finally win a division. Because when Matt Stafford was going through the draft process in, 2008, 2007, he basically wanted to come to Detroit to turn the culture around. He wanted to be in Detroit to win in Detroit. He's been on record saying as such. And now that he's approaching his 30s, I think this is a sign of maturity. I think this is great. Not only being friends with Matt Ryan, who was the Offensive Player of the Year last year in the NFL, but finally saying to himself, you know what, screw this. I'm tired of just being complacent. I'm tired of just, working and relying on myself. I want to get better. I want to just see what other potential is there because of what Jim Bob Cooter's already unleashed a little bit within my game. Maybe there's something more. And that's what Matt Stafford basically kind of thought when he decided to go out to California and go along this process.
I just, I've spent some time out in California throwing with some guys, just working on being as good a player as I can possibly be, mentally, physically, on the field, off the field, all that. It all goes into it. It is first time for me ever since John Stafford taught me how to throw a football. But yeah, I think, like I said earlier, when you're preparing, competing really against yourself to be as good as you can possibly be, why not, give everything you got and find different people with different ideas maybe that, can help you out. And, just thought it was an opportunity and went for it. And I want what's best for this team. I want what's best for, me as a player. If I play well, our team's going to play well. And it just goes into, preparation and doing everything you possibly can. And, I'm sure people go see certain coaches and it may not work for them. They say, okay, well, I tried and I didn't like that, or I like this or I like that. It's not an overhaul of what am I? I'm not going to be throwing left-handed out there, but just little things here and there to think about to keep you, as sharp as you can in the off season.
So yeah, no, I think it's something, Marty, that really shows that not only is he committed to himself, I think he's obviously wanting and willing to take this team to the next step, because I think he finally sees the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not saying that there is one. It still very well could be a train, but it's something that is encouraging and definitely intriguing. The fact that he wanted to work with a quarterback guru and get better. It's something that is completely different, and it only further signifies the change in culture that has been with this team. And the very last point, when, as you know, Ford Field's going through a massive remodel, they're upgrading all the video boards to making them, larger than what they were before. New bars along the concourse, suites are getting redone. Wi-Fi coverage is going to be a heck of a lot better. Obviously, cheerleaders were brought in last year as well. It feels different around Detroit. And I think a lot of this has to be given, thanks and heaped praise to guys like Ron Wood, who were inexperienced at running a team, and he even said as much. I think it also goes to, Martha Firestone Ford, because she actually wants to win, unlike her husband. We know, Ford Sr. was just okay making the money he got, just through the turnstiles and through TV money in the league. That's why I'm not just excited football's back. I'm excited to see what Detroit Lions football can be, because here in Detroit, guess what, gang? The Lions are probably the best franchise, as scary as that sounds and as weird as it's for me to say it, arguably the best franchise the city has right now. And that says something, because that's only happened in the past 2 years. You could never really say that, ever, within this city. People love their football around here. Who doesn't? But it kind of shows that perception within the organization and expectation within the organization is ready and already changing. Would you agree with that or no? Or do you think I'm crazy? Because you can say I'm crazy. That's fine.
I do think you're crazy, but not for that.
Oh, there you go.
I think you're spot on. I think you hit the nail right on the head, whatever the phrase is. Stuttering all over myself today, but yeah, I think you're 100% right. The culture changed with, I would say, again, and I've said this before, I think the culture changed with Schwartz. He didn't get us to where we are, to where he wanted to go, but he started the road there. Guys like Schwartz and now Caldwell. A lot of the culture has changed, and now Bob Quinn is really, really making people start to take notice of the Lions, and we're not just the last to talk to the league anymore. So I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's exciting. Everyone's 0-0. Everyone's going to the Super Bowl, even though the Lions probably aren't. But we can all think that. It's going to be exciting. It's just so great that football is back. Outside of that, that's all the time that we have for Lions SRD. We'll get into battles. We'll Abadiris, Galloway. Any wide receiver can make a name for themselves, as preseason games are going to be underway soon. We're going to talk about it all. We are fully back, diving in basically head first into this new season. I'm Ben Salagi.
I'm Marty Stafford.
And we say goodnight.